I play Mark Baum. He's a guy. He's sort of a conglomeration of different people in this world, and he's known for being a bit of a hothead, a bit of a loudmouth, sort of abrasive, but incredibly smart and incredibly intuitive. He's sort of an unlikely hero. He's a guy who has a very strong moral compass, and at the same time, he is immersed in this world that isn't necessarily ruled by moral compasses. And so I think he's tortured that way because he wants to do the right thing. He wants to, but he also understands the irony and the contradiction to it, which is hurtful for him because he wants to punish the people who he perceives of as doing the wrong thing, but at the same time, he knows he's going to benefit from that. So it's not completely altruistic, even though in his mind he believes it to be. There are essentially three separate groups, three separate teams that are looking to short the housing market. And he inadvertently gets this information based on, and this is true, based on a wrong number. Uh, Someone was calling a front point, which was there's a front point, there's another front point on like floor 8, and this was floor 11, and so they thought they were reaching out to a different front point partners, and so Baum gets this call and decides to follow up on it on a lark, just because, and it's out of his realm of expertise. This isn't, housing market. This is not not something that he deals with, but it piques his interest, and he and his team start to do some research and start to learn what they can about the housing market and the shorts and whether there is in fact a bubble and how much of a house of cards it is. There were so many people who were complicit. The ratings agencies, all of these major banks were either turning a blind eye or just looking at models that were either outdated or just didn't work in the first place, and were only put in place to give everyone a false sense of optimism. And you hear over and over, well, it's a housing market. The housing market has never failed in our history, so it's not going to now. No matter how bad it looks, no matter what people are saying. I mean, literally right up until the bottom fell out, people were saying this. It can't happen with the housing market. These guys bet against that. These guys bet against that prevailing wisdom that it just couldn't happen. Jared Vennet is somebody who's all about his own self-interest. He cares about making his deal and having it work for him, and he doesn't seem to be very trustworthy. He's a bit too slick, and none of these guys trust him, and they're very, very skeptical of his pitch. But at the same time, Mark realizes, and he agrees, Mark knows that this isn't a guy who we would necessarily trust, but at the same time, he thinks he's telling the truth. He thinks that Jared Vennet is onto something, and that there is potentially a bubble. And they vet him. They do their due diligence, and they figure out if there is a bubble or not, and they do their own research, and that's their job, and that's what they're really good at as a company, is they look under rocks. They go out in the field. They go into the housing market. They talk to real estate agents and mortgage brokers, and they get a sense, and the people who are buying multiple properties and multiple loans with absolutely no capital. And they get a sense of what's going on out there on a very grassroots level, and it turns out that everything that Venet is telling them is true. Cynthia is Mark's wife, played by Marissa Tomei, and she's a confidant. She's really the only one that Mark can talk to on a intimate level, and he keeps everything else inside, and he's very guarded. But with her, he's able to let his guard down and let her in, and actually hears her. She's one character that Mark, I think, truly takes cues from. Adam is so smart, and I think so passionate, which you can see. He's someone who, it's a murky world. It's, you read the book, you read the script, you meet these people, you try to piece it all together, and it's a different language. It's not a language that I grew up knowing, and I don't know a lot of people, if any, in this world. So you're talking about subprime, and you're talking about CDOs, and you're talking about synthetic CDOs, and all of this terminology. It can get thick and complicated. Adam cuts through it. Adam understands it. Adam can break it down, and I think he does in the movie, and not in a dry way. And I love the fact that the movie will be entertaining. It's not going to be a documentary about what happened. It's going to live. It's really going to be alive, and you're going to feel what these characters are going through. You're going to get a sense of how they were positioned in this world, and in a broader sense, what potentially was going to happen. Obviously, Adam's known for his work in comedies, and I've known Adam, since the 80s, and we've worked together a lot. But he's also a very thoughtful person, and very, very passionate, and committed to the story, to this world, and I really think he's a good storyteller. I read the book, and within 5 or 10 minutes, I felt like I had to go back and start reading it again, because there's so much information, there's so much to digest and understand. And some of it's unbelievable. Some of it seems like fiction. And then when I read the script, because you read the book and you think, how are they going to turn this into a movie? It's too much. It's a huge story, and there's so many elements and components, and it's tricky. It's and it's hard to understand, even if you go back and reread it. For someone who's not in that business, it's a difficult thing to comprehend, and I think the script does a good job with that. It seems like a huge piece of history that hasn't gotten a lot of, I don't know, it doesn't seem like people talk about it a lot. It seems to have drifted away in the public conscience, and it shouldn't, because it was a scary time, and it could happen again. And not that the movie will come out and it'll right the wrong, and it'll this will never happen again. But I think it's important. I think it's an important piece of recent history, and it's outrageous. And it would be nice to bring that to light to people who maybe aren't aware of how outrageous it was. You see the producers on this, and apart from the fact that I wanted to work with Adam again, when you see Brad's name and you see Dee Dee's name, you just have a sense that it's something of value, that it's something worth doing, and that they're going to handle it in a very respectful way and a passionate way. And it sounds like such a cliche, but they're all storytellers. They're all people who understand how to create a story and a narrative, and you can sense how committed everyone is. You can sense how important this story is to everyone here, and I think those are the type of things I want to do, where everyone feels that it's important and wants to do it, and it's not just a job, it's not just a story, but I think a valuable one, a story that needs to be told, deserves to be told, and told well and respectfully.